Okay, looks like the stream is running. Welcome everybody who's joining. Today I'm going to be attempting something I have never attempted before. I'm going to attempt to build a plugin, build a block plugin at least, without using any JavaScript, any JSX, any React. So there is a Gutenberg tutorial called Writing Your First Block Type that has been around for a while now. And the example code has this little switch here, and it allows you to see the JSX version, which is the React version, and then the plain JavaScript version. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, or at least what I'm going to be focusing on today. I don't know if this is going to work. But I'm going to work through this. There is also Gutenberg examples repository, which I'm going to be using. It has the non-JSX version of all the different blocks and things that you can do. So I'm going to be relying on that to, if I get stuck. Hey, Paolo. So that's the goal today anyway. Build a block, don't use any Node or any NPM or any React, just write plain JavaScript, or at least copy plain JavaScript and try and get it to work. That is what we are doing today. I'm going to just hit like on that one. I was running a bit late because I'm still making coffee. So I'm going to take breaks every now and then and pour my coffee behind me. Okay, let's do this. So I don't think I need to worry about getting started with JavaScript. I know this pretty well. It's a good read if you haven't read it before. But I am fortunate that I've been working with JavaScript long enough that I've more or less known my way around it. So let's start by closing all of this because I was working on something else earlier. Let us going to delete that because I don't need that. And I'm going to just clean up a few things on my local install. I'm just going to mention, if you're watching this and if you enjoy the music, it is a it is a hip-hop band, or at least a hip-hop collaboration called, the artist's name is L'Orange, and he's partnered with a rapper called Solemn Brigham, and this is Marlowe 3. They've had a Marlowe 2 and a Marlowe 1, and it's 3 of my favorite albums, so I recommend checking them out if you enjoy the music. Okay. And no, I don't get paid for saying that. I just dig the artist and I want to get more people to listen to his music. Okay, so let's create a directory. And I'm just going to go super simple and let's make it a block, whatever, doesn't matter. Okay. First we need to do some block JSON. So create a blocked JSON file. I find the music quite soft, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Go. Maybe that was a bit too loud. Okay, title. Category, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to make the icon the smiley because like that. Okay, and the edit script is the block.js. So we have to create that just now. Okay, so then we need a plugin.
Do I take the bag now or later? You take the bag now.
Registration.
Hola, I can explain all that, Marlo.
Oh, sure, baby, but not now, later. Oh, and incidentally, my enemies also play rough, so watch your step and act smart. Bought a new suit for the action, couple threads, lucid attraction, stepping on shoes like expecting.
Then I just like to do my inits above the function registration, which is the way I like to do things. Okay, so this will register the block type and pass in the directory, which is where we are, which will look for the block.json file, which will find all of this. Should probably call this something else. Okay. And then we need the block.js file. So from what I can understand, if I look at this, it's importing register block type. From blocks. Okay. And I get blocks from this object. I get element from this object. And that creates an element, and then we can call the register block type function on blocks. Okay, and then we need to pass in the name. And then what it's doing is there's an edit function, and it's returning the element. So this function obviously passes in this create element function. See if there's a documentation piece for this. Maybe in WordPress block somewhere. The structure of the blocks markup. There's the element documentation. Instruction there, tough React, okay. There's a WP element global object. This is obviously the polyfill that we're talking about. Parameters type. Okay, so it's passing in a type, which in this case is paragraph, p tag at least. Then it can have props. Okay. Linda, it has been done before by mostly by this example code. Where is it? Here. But I've never done it myself and seen how it all fits together, because not many people talk about it. So it is possible, but most folks tend to go with the React route. And as far as I know, nobody's done a series of either workshops or tutorials on how to actually do it, which is what I'm sort of preparing for now. So it is possible. I've never done it before, and I don't know how to do it. that's why I'm sort of teaching myself while I read through this. And then that is to send elements. Okay, so that'll pass that through. Okay. So if I have a look, yeah, you see, so that becomes an element of. So basically, it translates all of this. So when you write using JSX, you return this code, which then gets transpiled back into something like this. Okay, so that should work. Okay, let's see if there's anything else we need to do. Then they talk about dependency. So we need to register the block with an asset.php file, which is this guy over here. So here we set up WP blocks, WP element, and WP polyfill. So we need to create a block asset.php file. And then we need to stick this in. So that will make sure that the blocks element and polyfills are loaded when the block loads, or at least the block will only load once these dependencies are met. So this is something that happens when you use React anyway. Now we're just doing it all manually. Might not be a bad idea to just actually have create block and the output code and kind of compare the two. Let me do that now quickly. That's the wrong place.
Marlo, it's Ramesh Ranganathan here, UK comedian,
All right.
on my way to being a national treasure, I think. Look, as you know, I've been a fan of yours, but then I was thinking, how do I step the upper level?
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use
Than by having a UK rap. And obviously you could
create block
but I was thinking, what about
to scaffold a JSX block,
known in a
so we can compare the two.
stepping across? It's exciting, isn't it? I mean, I'm buzzing. Just
I don't need any of
I
that.
am buzzing. Just thinking. So, look, I've prepared a little
I'm just
audition.
going to call this WP learn
what you think.
React,
Right? Yeah. Let
and I'm going to let that do its thing. Okay, so while that's building, I'm going to carry on working over here.
Okay. Ramesh Ranganathan, Marlo audition.
We did that now, so that should be working.
Becomes a rap artist, the sharpest tool.
Um,
Never. Send and stretch your luckin' 'cause I am not clever. My therapist told me to change my inner voice. I told him I don't have a choice. He's still getting me.
okay, so this code,
Let me in. Please would you let me
as we have it here, should
to get me in? Friends will take the piss when they hear me speak.
theoretically
All shit and piss if it meant
work.
I could riff on a track by my favorite rap.
So let's check that.
Avoid whack like taxes dodged by Gary Barlow. You won't get that line, that's pure
site fell over. Okay, I know why that is. I think it's just because I hit stop the server. Oh no, it is running. Okay, so then I just need to probably restart the server. So in case you're wondering, I use something called multipass to run my local environments. It's a virtualization system that basically sets up a local Ubuntu server, and then you can log into it and you can do all the kinds of things that you can normally do on any Linux server. And I prefer to use it because I'm weird that way. I just like working on Ubuntu servers. It's my preferred choice of environment. Tristan, yes, in theory all code works, absolutely. So I've actually tested this code last week, and I actually know this code breaks. Well, it did when I tested it, because I think things have changed since that doc was written. And so part of what I'm trying to do today is figure out why it breaks, so that I can look at updating the document, so that we can actually follow it in the that I expect to happen, so that we can update it, so that when we follow it in the workshop, it actually works. So that's part of my goal anyway. So there's the learn basic block. Let's just make sure. So it's WP learn basic block. Okay, so let's see if we add that to a post, what happens. Okay. WP learn basic block. Hey, hello world from the editor. Okay, that I actually expected to work, but when we load it on the front end, something's going to break, or it did last time at least anyway. So let's save the draft, and let's preview this on the front end. And it works. Oh, okay. Last time it didn't work. That's kind of cool. So that's awesome. So it actually does work. Excellent. Okay. So now what I actually want to look at doing is adding some styling to this, so that we can actually make it a little bit more fully functional. And maybe, so there was a series of workshops or tutorials I did a while back. Where I speak about create block and how to work with it. See if there's a way that I can. Yeah, that's customer profiles. So I'm gonna have to find them. So I want to look at styling it. Okay, so that works. That's cool. What I want to do now, I want to see element properties. I want to see if I can apply a class name to this. So this should work. That's actually true. Cool. Why is that giving me an error? I wonder if it needs to be in quotes. Either attribute set to apply to DOM node or values to pass through to element creator. Wonder if it just needs that. No. Something is throwing an error here. Strings must use single quote. Oh. I wonder if that's my PHP storm being weird. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. So let's see if that... hang on, before I do that, let me just check if it's actually applied a class to it. This WP post block content, which is what I want. Let's see if I can apply a special class name to it. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay, and I'll do the same over here. Just want to see what happens if I do that. Oh, that's interesting. I can't remove this block. See that? Okay. Let's refresh here. Let's remove it. That was interesting. I wonder if it's because it needs to support like the toolbar or something. Let's inspect that. Okay, so it doesn't pass. That's not such a dumb question, Linda. Mainly just if you're in an environment where you can't install the build tools. So in order to, let me find that initial video. In order to set up the build tools to use React, you need to, I think it was in this video. Yeah, you need to install Node and NPM. And specifically if you're on Windows, installing these things is not the easiest. It's doable. I mean, I do it in this video, and I did the research behind it. But if you struggle to install those things, or you don't want to install those things, or you don't want to rely on those dependencies, then you could just do it this way, and you wouldn't need to. You wouldn't need to run the build step every time you're working with it. So it just means you have less dependencies, less requirements. You can just build your block and distribute it, and you don't have to worry about all the complicated NPM and Node and build steps. That's the only real reason. So maybe I'm wasting my time. I don't know. Tristan says, does it show in the tree on the left? That was actually the next thing I was going to check. It's definitely installing it as a block. But I got a feeling that, you see, there it is there, and I can remove it there, but it doesn't have the toolbar here. And I think that might be because it needs some kind of support enabled or something. So that is super interesting. You'll probably find that, let me see if this is finished. Yeah, this is all finished. So if we look at that block that was just scaffolded, the React version, possibly has some built-in functionality where it's using, maybe because it's using the block props, it applies those things by default. That's very possible. Maybe not, I don't know. Because I do remember seeing block props be used in one of the next steps. I'm going to try that next. So let's see. Anyway, let's move on to styles and style sheets. Here they're actually starting to use block props. So it actually imports the block editor element, which is where block props comes from. And then in the edit function, accepts a set of props, and then it uses block editor block props and sets an inline style. And then you'll see it passes the block props in there, and then applies it on the front end. So I don't know if I want to necessarily show that way. I would rather work on the class name. So you'll see here, use block props includes the class name for the block automatically. It generates the name for each blocks with that prefix, placing that with that, which is kind of what I want to do. So I might cover this, but I'm rather going to stick with this one. So if we update this blocks element block editor, and then we make sure to include that here. Window WP block editor, I think it is. Yep, there it is. And then we can, in the function, we can have the props. I think they're defined higher up somewhere, are they? No. Out. So that's throwing an error because it's defined but block props is that. So it looks like we don't even need this props here. I think this is an error, which does make sense for now. But I get used later. So that's fine. And then we can do the same thing here. And we can pass the block props. What's useful to do at this point is to actually have a look at what block props contains in the edit. So that's a hook that happens by default. Console's not defined, that's fine, it'll be defined when the console actually works. Then we can do the star sheet. Okay, so let's see what that does. Okay. It's probably going to give me an error now. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now this is where I hit last time. It was when I implemented the block props. So let me enable debugging. I might already have it enabled. Oh, this is Xdebug giving me issues. Let's just delete this. Let's enable debugging. Right, debugging is already enabled. Okay. And then let's refresh. Seems in the debug log. Undefined array key button. Array key heading button. Fun. The sample didn't have the curly brackets. Oh, well spotted. Passing an object in an object. Well spotted. Okay, have a look. We're getting those errors. I wonder if that's because of the theme that I'm using. Let me change themes. Because I was messing around with themes the other day. So let me switch to a default theme. Let's make it 2022. In fact, let me update WordPress while I'm here. You guys don't mind, do you? What am I doing? I haven't worked on this local WordPress install for yonks, so it's probably out of date. Out of date. Always a good time for getting coffee. Okay. Why is this taking so long? I feel like this should not be taking this long. You have some files while I'm here. Full updating. What? This should not be taking this long. No, apparently it's installed 6.1. Okay, I don't understand that. All right. Now all these themes, let's just activate 2023, for example. Okay, so that's fine. So let's see if that's fixed the errors. Ah, there we go. At least I'm getting a message now. Yeah. Okay. Dependencies. Argument 2. Must be type string. Okay, this is kind of where I got last time. So let's take this all back a step. Make sure this still works. Okay. We're getting an error. Where's that? Probably because I messed up the upgrade. There. Okay, let's reinstall. Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to rely on those dependencies. I want to just focus on the code. So I'm just going to run this update again. And I'm going to change the song because I wasn't expecting all that language. I think there's something that I'm doing wrong with this WordPress install. I think I've broken it. Possibly. Because it should not be taking this long to update WordPress. So let's do this. Let me switch over to another install that I have. And you're going to stick the code there. This is a clean install from the other day. So I'm just going to grab no, wrong one. I'll grab these two. Bring them over.
And the dull, faraway look on his face that I could question him all day and it wouldn't do any good.
Where did you get it, Marlowe?
Stay away from my enemies.
See, Mr. Marlowe?
Heard a sound at the door. Uh-oh.
Let's switch this.
Put up the cloud, ayy. Wet on the drought, switch up the route, pick up the count, ayy. Still in the south, still in the pout, brand new pounce, ayy. Still on the lurk, bring on the dirt, another man down, still throwed out, trying to figure me out, ayy. Always in the lineup.
Okay. Close all this.
No power, we leave on my desk. We both part of that life, I ride this go to honor my strife.
That.
Okay.
Okay. So close down. Okay, that one's at least been upgraded now. So while we're waiting for that. Activate the basic block again. Let's activate default theme. Okay, done. Let's go into posts. Let's see if we can at least add that block again. Okay, so that still works. Good. So now I want to implement the block props. See if it still breaks. And then if it breaks, then there's something wrong with the implementation, and then I'm going to go digging. And that's kind of the point of today. So we might be here a little bit longer than I had planned. So if you're only planning on hanging around for an hour, that's cool. But kind of the purpose of what I'm doing here today is to figure out why that code breaks. Okay. So, block editor. Okay. So let's add it here. No. Block editor. Yep. Okay. So let's just make sure that this works. Just want to log this. All right, let's see if they're complaining about the way I'm doing this. Let's see if this works. That actually causes it to break. Interesting. Unexpected identifier, block props. Okay. Oh wait, hang on. Did I copy that right? Yeah. Oh, no, that's right. My goal is just to get this working. To get this code working. I wonder if this is needed. Oh wait, hang on, I'm doing this in the wrong place, that's why. That's why, doing it in the wrong place. There we go. Gotta be inside the function. Duh. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, there we go. Okay. Cannot read properties of undefined reading, use block props. Okay. Interesting. If I need to pass the block editor into the edit function, that's probably the problem. Bet you that's it. Yep, there it is. Okay, but still throwing the error though. Block editor use block props is not a function. Okay. Maybe props needs to be a function. Maybe it's changed. Maybe it's get block props now. Let's see if that fixes it. Nope, still an error. Get block props. Okay, so now we need to go into the block editor and see. So there is somewhere that I can check this. See what in the Gutenberg examples. See what Ryan's doing here. Block editor. Block editor. Oh, he's calling it like that. Okay, it's not a function. That's why. So it is use, but it's not a function. It's like that. And let's see what the documentation said. Documentation had it with that. So this is probably outdated documentation. So let's see if that fixes it. There we go. Okay, so that's the first thing, is this needs to be updated. And then we probably, I should see, no, we do need that there, because if I take that out, it's going to fail. Is it? Let's see. Yeah, that's what I expected. So it does need to be passed in. So those are two changes that need to be made. So I'm going to make some notes here. What they've got at the top here. Oh, you see they're doing it that way with the green background. Okay. So, let's block out the function. Okay, so that's some updates we can do. I'm going to probably see if I can get these pieces of documentation updated. Okay, so then that, and then we should be able to do the same here. Right, no, not that one. No, what am I doing? Not that one. I pass block editor in there, and we set up block props in here. And then we can pass it in place of that, and in place of that. So now that will pass the properties to the element, and now we should get some interesting class names happening. So if I add this, and I select it, and I inspect it, right, go away. So there's the div, and see what the class name is. That one? No, it's this one. That's interesting. It's not passing the class name in, which I expect it to do. Now that's interesting, because when I didn't pass it the block props, it actually had a class name. So I wonder if that's even necessary. Let's go back a step.
The special music. But that's the end of the story. But what you've heard about is one thing, and the real thing is something else again.
There's no need to, Marlo. I'm finished, and so are you. So why don't you just be a good fella and keep the change? So long, sucker.
What that's doing. Okay, it doesn't have a paragraph there. Class name at least. Does it have a class name here? No, it doesn't. Let's again have a look and see what is happening in here. See, here he's actually passing the block style as an object. But that's not what I want. I want class name style sheets. Here we go.
That's a good title. It fits. That's a nice title. Exciting story. This is
Yeah, he's actually passing in this.
Who's there? Marlo. Open up. If I didn't have enough trouble, I gotta worry about you too.
Marlo, I'm kind of scared. I don't like this place.
Really?
Spooky little town.
It's sunny outside.
This, Marlo, is the bag.
You know what I'm talking about.
Interesting.
Marlo's the man who asks the question, is Marlo? And Marlo comes on strong.
Like I told you, I was trouble from the jump, and this is just a prophecy being fulfilled.
The Forgotten City.
It's pretty interesting.
There are visitors in the city.
I know.
What are they doing here? We got to get rid of them.
Don't get excited, Chef.
But no one ever comes here. They must know something.
If they suspected what we're using the city for, they'd have brought more men with them. Let them snoop around.
Yo, we down here for a little bit, so.
You see, this is where it gets confusing because this is very different from the documentation.
Yo.
But I was expecting that to be passed from block.json. I wonder if it's not for some reason. And why would that be?
I can show you when to spin and when to throw down. Set you on your back and make your partners more proud. Where I'm from, they cover me so much that
I wonder if
know you want to stop, but don't nobody tell how. I can tell you all about the game and what I found. Met a couple gangsters, met a couple more clowns. Showed up to the cook, but they don't ever want cow. All in different places, vying for the same crown. Don't let them get you caught, cause in the street that equal death. I'm just trying to reach your heart, see I done put some
it's not receiving them for some reason.
I can show you when
Let's
to
put
answer
the
for
block
some
props
hero
through
on
here.
your chest. See, keeping it a buck is knowing when to stand ground. I'm the one to stand up, and I'm the one to push down. Imagine all the numbers if we hit the same crowd. Make 'em put their hands up, make 'em
Pull an object local and then edit adds the object and then saves it. Yeah, I know that, but I'm waiting for. I'm expecting the class name to come through from the block.json, which is what it does in the React version. If you have a look at, where is it now?
I was in the jungle, hit a vulture with the bait and switch. Even though you made it with your clips, you better have a clip. Numbers do lie,
Was
if
it
the numbers
gold?
is counterfeit. You ain't gave nothing to the
And then in the index, it passes to the edit, and then the edit gets use block props and then uses use block props. So things are slightly different here. What if I just do without this? Pass this in like this. If that'll work. props and then pass that through.
I'm the one to stand up, and I'm the one to punch down. Imagine all the numbers if we hit the same crowd.
And do the same here.
Make them put their hands out. Don't let them get you gassed like a bagpipe. I've been on the crash since my past life. People acting brash when they glass tight.
This props, as far as I know, comes from the block.json file. Let's see what that does.
I've been on the crash since my past life. People acting brash when they glass tight. When the crowd tell pray you're better than the last hype.
Cider of burning cigarettes with a single flame
Hmm.
of smoke.
No, that's broken it. That's broken it.
That little rascal belonged to me. Proud to say, boss, I'm that baby's daddy. I be the paw, boss. I'm the paw that they're youngin' boss.
Ayy.
I'm the pappy.
What is? Ayy, I'm the pappy. I've been slapping foes, raised the home, this the family. I've been slamming doors, paid the whole, you can tax me. Bonafide brother to get the bag and skip the casket. I just wanna ride up and show the bands. I missed elastic, now they polarized. Spent a half a check before I even got to hold the dime. I could probably never make this back, that's in my broker's eyes. Cause I'm not commercial, but I got a few that's televised. Now where your business at? Mine that and mine them brothers that be in the back. All they really want is that respect that you can't get with rap. Me and squad rep the way we step, you think
Oh,
we
wait,
in the
it's-
back. Call it what you want, they call me young plaques. My chains don't clack, my pockets need fat, I think it's time to run it back. So when we hit the map, I brought a basket for the stats. Double back this for the yak, I quit the game and then I laughed. Hitting stage and fading the black, growing my page, I'm getting attached. Look at the gold, I gotta impress. I got the smoke and it's all in my chest. I got some butter, I'm trying to invest. I'm not a runner, I cover my steps. Watch out for brothers who say that it's facts. I don't keep it 100, I keep it a rack. Now where your partners at? Blame them, they fixed your mind to get your head smacked.
That
All
makes
they really
sense.
want is that respect.
Register the block document. It's actually registering the. It's passing it in.
Out the country, that's a bigger flex. Still the same face, ain't nothing major to a main attract. We was running late, we slipped the crowd and snucking through the back. Made the room shake, they love us back. I'm still not over that. I'm with a commotion at jumping.
That's not required.
Hustle was the main attack. Please don't make me bring me back. Always on the phone. Chat ain't got no chill for that. Back when I was young, without the bricks, knew how to make a stack. That's it.
Do I take the bag now or later? You take the bag now. Out of pappy.
You know what it probably is because I'm doing this wrong.
I can explain all that, Marlo.
Oh, sure,
So
sure,
let's
baby, but not
go
now.
back a
later.
step.
Oh, and incidentally, my enemies also play rough, so watch your step and act smart.
Bought a new suit for the action.
Because
We'll see the traction. Stepping on shoes like expecting. Do an ace deuce on my
block props just use block props there. But in save, it's use block props save. So let's try that. I think that was Tristan was trying to get at. I think I missed that. So let's see.
Let the people talk, they don't know enough. Let my people spark, they don't own enough. I be speaking duck, see me blowing up. I just live what I tell, cause I came out the well. Rang on the bell. Pray for my all, I got weight on my heart, I got weight on the scale. Let the people talk, they don't own enough. Let my people spark, they don't own enough. I be speaking duck, see me blowing up. I just live what I tell. Threw a few shots, tried to fold me. Rap game fake, could've told me. Said I might as well pick the army. Either way, they still tryna own me. Couple OGs try to mold me. Go and get a bag, or you be another story. Looking for the throne, better go and get your own seat. I'ma pick a bone with whoever try to hold me. Burying my past like cold beef. All cold with
Is edit working?
Like you say, Marlo.
Came out the well, prang on the bell. Live what I talk, I don't do what you say, you ain't been where I fell. Let the people talk, they don't know enough. Let my people spark, they don't own enough. I be speaking dark, see me blowing up. I just live what I tell, cause I came out the water, my wave and my honor. I'm raising a bottle, you know what's up. Came out the water, no stain on my palm, but I stay with the drama, you know what's up. Straight in my collar, the trophy to follow. They go out, they wait not to notice us. The way I was brought up, I hang on the line and just wait on the time. And I came out the well, prang on the bell. Live what I talk, I don't do what you say, you ain't been where I fell. Let the people talk, they don't know enough. Let my people spark.
So let's do this up here.
Speaking dark, see me blowing up. I just live what I tell, cause I came out the well, prang on the bell. Pray for my art, I got weight on my heart, I got weight on the scale. Let the people talk, they don't own enough. Let my people spark, they don't own enough.
I want to pass on the style though.
Blowing up, I just live what I tell.
Heard the piano. Walks as far as the I eased it open.
Then here is the save. Oops.
Hey. Hey. I'm trying to lay my debts. Catch me underwater, I can hold my breath. I be on site, they try to take my light. Running with the torch, trying to pace my steps. Bigger check, smaller
No,
circles,
it
they
takes
be way
everything.
too trite. I ain't trying to move in circles, time to take my flight. I'm just doing what I say like I ain't got no mic. I hear your plight, I gotta hit you on the fly. Power on the rise. Feel the shot to get you high. I could be a new supply. Last few weeks been a blur, my God. Rescue me from the urge, my God. Long as you keep your shine. Power to ya. Power to ya. Power to ya. More power to ya. Whatever happens to you, I'm so glad I knew ya. Power to
Ah, maybe the asset needs to be updated.
power to ya. No matter how
No,
much
it doesn't look like it.
make it back. No matter how much you had, you can make it back. No matter how much you had, you can make it back. No matter how much you had, you can make it back. Trouble on the rise. See the struggle in your eyes. Hard to keep the vibe. I just bargain with the sky. Second tries, I had way too many. My daughter trying to make me proud, but I'm not in her city. And ain't nobody got sense, but they got 2 pennies. Even though I told my son I gotta take that with me. When the door was off the hinge, I stood guard.
I'm gonna have to spend some more time on this one. Figure out why that's happening.
Check my pockets in the clock. Time to run it. Everybody got problems and they not forthcoming. I can tell you about yourself. One pot.
Now I'm going to take this all the way back to the top. Just make sure it works. Sure, let's go for creator. And then let's put this at the top here. And so I'll put let's see what's in there. Can't read properties undefined. I can't read it. One day I'ma have it all to give it back to you. That's a gem from the jeweler. All I ever gave was power to you. Go. It's like the way this is being called is incorrect or something. Oh, maybe I haven't defined it properly. Maybe it's my auto complete freaking out here. Hang on. Stop it. Let's do that. Okay, let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. Okay.
Marlo, it's Ramesh Ranganathan here, UK comedian, sort of on my way to being a national treasure, I think.
If that
Look,
works.
as you know, I've been a fan of yours, but then I was thinking,
Line
how
7, I'll check
do
now.
I step that up a level? And then I thought, what better way than by having a UK rapper as part of the group? And
No, there's no extra semicolons there. It's this line here that's the problem. This is giving me grief. I changed the music because I'm now listening to the same song I was listening to earlier. Let's change that. All I want to do today is I want to get block props working. That's all I want to do. So this. Okay. So hard refresh. Could be a JavaScript thing. Still getting an error. Can't read properties of undefined. Sure, it's actually a public repository in the WordPress organization. It's just called Gutenberg examples. It's actually linked from the documentation. That's how I found it. So if you go to I'll find an easy way to get there. You go to developer.wordpress.org. You click on Build Blocks, click on Getting Started, and then the Create a Block tutorial. And then about half of the way down, no, not that one. Not that one. Sorry. It's under the how-to guides. There's a basic block one. That's the one I was looking at now. Where is that? Go back a few steps. Block editor, how-to guides, block tutorial. Okay, let's try that again. So blocks, block editor, how-to guides. Blocks, create a basic block. And then this is the page that I was working with. It's just called create a basic block. So block editor handbook, how-to guides, blocks, create a basic block. And then if you scroll down towards the end of this document, you see there's all the code that I was looking at. There's the plain. There's all the plain options I was looking at. There, under the conclusion section, the Gutenberg examples repository is linked. So from there, if you open that, that takes you through to this guy. And there is the JSX version, build code. And there is the non-JSX version. And that's what I'm looking at and comparing to the documentation. So it's all there in the WordPress, GitHub, WordPress, Gutenberg-examples. It's all there and viewable. And part of the reason why I'm doing all of this is because I want the documentation to be updated so that it works. And as you can see, I'm struggling with getting that right today, which means there's either bugs in the documentation or bugs in the examples or whatever. And I want to get those things working. So this we got working. This we knew worked fine. But it was the next step, the using styles and style sheets, where we got stuck. I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to try and do it this way, where he is doing this whole green background business. So let's see if that'll work. This could be a long session, so if you don't want to hang around for more than an hour, that's totally fine by me. I had a feeling this was going to be a longer session, so I'm just going to carry on. So this needs to be inside the edit function. I'm going to pass the props in here. So in case you're wondering why I'm putting that there, I know that there is some work done in the background where the props object is being passed around. So it's possible that it's being passed to the edit function, so I'm just going to leave it there. And then I'm going to stick all of this in here. Seems like you're assigning an empty object to the block editor in the first line. No, that's actually, as far as I know, that's not what that's doing. I don't know this for sure, but if you have a look at the bottom of that enclosure, there's this whole down here. There's this whole window WP blocks thing, window WP element, window WP block editor. So that's getting the last one gets the block editor object from the global WordPress object, which is the window.wp object, and then you're passing that into this function. So my understanding is this here is the same as in JSX you do this kind of thing where you say import. No, maybe not that one. That's a bad example. You say import use block props from the block editor, or import the internationalization function from the package. So in the vanilla JavaScript way, you use this syntax over here, where you're basically saying use these global objects, and then you can pass them into your function, your main function, which is what we're doing up here. So this should be passing into there. However, that gives me a good idea. In that maybe the way this is being done is wrong and it's being passed incorrectly. So let's actually check what's inside of that block editor object. That's actually a good point. Thank you. Deconstructing. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Who is that? Rohan. Let's see what's inside this block editor object. So let's refresh that. See, it's undefined. So that means one of two things. Either means the way that this is done has changed. So let's see what's in the non-JSX examples. Or it means that something is not loading at the right time. See, it is window WP block editor, so that's right. I wonder if it's something to do with this. Or it might be. Might be the dependencies. Might be that this code is loading before the dependencies are loaded. But no, that doesn't make sense, because then I wouldn't be getting, I wonder, then I wouldn't be getting element. It's like block editor is being passed in. What's bothering me is that my PHP Storm is auto-completing this. It's almost like it thinks it's going to be an empty element. Empty object, should I say. But it's not supposed to be. In the none version, you do include that from another lib, not the global space. Yeah, it's loading it from the WordPress polyfill as well, I understand. Because basically when it runs the register block type function and you pass in the directory, then register block type looks for the different things that it needs. So it'll either return it from, if it's a string, It'll actually go and it'll look for the different files. It'll find a block JSON. It'll register it from the block JSON. Blah 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 blah. So I have to figure out why this is not working. As far as I know, yeah, they are. Because there's blocks, and that passes in blocks, and that does what it needs to do with register block type, so that works. An element is working because I can create the element and render it. So it's something to do with this block editor object is not doing what I need to do. I want to just see something here. That should do something. Okay, I am going to check something. I'm going to clone this repository. No, I don't want it there. I want it somewhere else. Might even have it here already. Gutenberg. I don't have Gutenberg examples. Okay. When in doubt, look at someone else's code. It's been a while since I've developed like this. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay. Like that, and it is called, what is it called again? Block.json. No, that's the wrong one. Gutenberg example O2 style sheets. Okay. Let me disable mine. Activate that as well. Nothing's conflicting. And let's add this and see if it works. Okay, so that works. Okay, so that's working. So there's nothing wrong with that code. So let's have a little dig. Wouldn't be necessary. Let's register block type. Register block type. Just loading it on the init action, so that's right. That's all fine. Okay. Block JSON files. So schema, then schema API version. I've got the name. It's got title, it's got an icon, it's got category. It doesn't have example. editor script is block.js, and the style sheets we don't need, so that's not different. Look at the assets. He's got block editor elements and its nationalization and a version number. I've got block. Ah, there's a thing. He's got block editor. I don't. That's why it's not loading. That's why it's not loading. So we've got elements and we've got blocks, but we don't have the editor. That's why it's not loading. Missing, yeah, effectively, not really an import. It's basically saying load this when those things are loaded. So, yeah, not exactly the same as missing import, but missing dependency. Because this is effectively the same as the import in React. Okay, now we are getting somewhere. Now that's interesting because that wasn't in documentation, or was it? Yeah, they don't talk about that in the documentation. They don't tell you to update the assets. So we should probably consider getting that updated as well. Where's the assets? Yeah. Okay, so let me make a note about that. And include block editor dependency. Can you tell it's been a while since I've done this? Block editor. In the block.asset.php. Okay, so now that is working. Close that. Don't need that. Okay, that's there. So now all of this stuff should work. So now I should get something here, which I will expect. So let's do that. Let's check that. Feeling positive about this. Oh, I think I disabled the block. I think these documentation pages are sitting in GitHub somewhere. Yeah, there. So I can probably create a pull request, which I will do after this. Or maybe I'll do it today and you guys can watch me. I mean, if you're still hanging around and you want to watch me do that, you're more than welcome to. It's probably going to be boring as anything, but hey. Okay. So let us, so we've activated that. Yes, let's go back to the post. Let's add our basic block. Okay, that's working. And now we have an object being output. Yay! Watch me get all excited. Probably not going to get as excited as I usually get because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today. My voice, you might hear my voice is a bit croaky, so I normally get a little bit more excited than this, but that's still me being excited. Okay, I think what I'm going to rather suggest is that we update in method 2 once it gets added, but I'll think about that. Okay, so let's go to styles and style sheets. So in here, we should add a section before you add your style, update your assets to include the blocks. Because I wonder, yeah, they don't have it anyway. Okay. So that means this should work, but that's not the route that I want to take. I want to take this route. So there's the block editor. So let's do the block props the way they've done it. inside of the edit function, and block prop save inside of that. And then let's pass the block props into there and into there. And I'm going to purposely leave out this props for now, because I think that only becomes relevant if you're passing attributes to it. Maybe not. I want to check first. I want to see. This should now do something. Linda says I get excited when I figure out how to set my microwave clock back an hour. Awesome. Okay. Right, so now if we inspect this, it should have a class name of some kind. Might not. Index ID, role, array label, data block, data type, data title, class. There it is. There it is. There it is. WP block, blah, blah, blah. WP block, WP learn, block, basic block. That's the class name I'm looking for. I know it's clunky. I know some folks online have complained about that syntax. I haven't decided how I feel about it, but it's doing what I want it to do. So it's using the prefix WP block and then my name, WP learn hyphen block basic block, which is what we set up in the block JSON WP learn block basic block. So it's doing what I want it to do. So I'm happy. So now I can apply styles to that. So let's just preview this and make sure it's doing the same on the front end. WP block, WP learn, block, basic block. Yay! So that's doing what I need to do. So I don't need to pass in the props, which is what I thought. I would only need to do it if I am working with attributes, which I'll be doing probably in the second session. So what I wonder if I could refactor this a little bit. Probably shouldn't. I'll just leave it like that for now. I'll just leave it like that for now. Yeah, we did it, Tristan. Yay, I'm so happy right now. You have no idea. I don't look at it because I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but I'm happy. But that's cool. At least now I know why it wasn't working. And I can update the documentation to include that, which is excellent. So if you want to hang around, I'm going to do that now, just for the sake of being that guy, because otherwise I'm going to forget. So we need to create a fork of this, which I think I already have in my, let's see, if I say fork this, no, how do you fork something? Oh yes, there, fork. I see, I do have one. That's what I thought. Okay, I figured I would. So let's jump there and then let us. This is a cool feature of GitHub that GitHub added recently. You can literally just hit the sync fork button, and it'll say your branch is out of date. Do you want to update your branch? And you just go yes, please, and it'll do all the updates for you. I'm not worried about this, so I'm going to leave that for now. But now it's up to date with whatever the most recent commits are, which is excellent. Okay, so the document is a Gutenberg Docs how-to guides block tutorial writing your first block. So let's go and find that. Where was that? No, yes, here we go. So Gutenberg Docs how-to guides block tutorial, how-to guides block tutorial, and then it was this one we want to do, not the how to write, we want to do the using styles and style sheets one. So it's not this one, but it's the using styles and style sheets. It's probably going to be that one. So let's actually make sure. Let's mouse over here. Applying styles with style sheets is what it says at the bottom of my browser. So it's this guy over here. Okay. So here it is, before you start, and then we're going to add a section in there. So let us edit this, and let us say, before you start, you will need a basic block, blah, da, 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 da. And then we're going to say update your now I want to go back a step. See, because in what if they talk about it here? Because the whole point of that, of creating that assets file, is because don't change it if it ain't broke. Is because you're not running the build step, because you're not using npm. So when you run the build step, build the script and asset file which is used, blah blah. The build step creates the new assets file. But if you are not, then it says create the asset file to load the dependencies, the name of that, blah blah blah. Now what I want to check is whether or not they talk about running the build step in here. No, they don't. Okay. So I'm going to have to think about how I do this. You see, in the previous one, they are assuming that you are going to run npm run build. They don't talk about it in the build or add dependency. And maybe I should do that after. Yeah, maybe I should do it afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to do it here. It was 2, 3, so it's 2, 3, so I'm going to make it 3. And make it here. And I'm going to create it. We'll add dependency. You know, here they've got two different things, so I'm going to steal that from this one. I'm trying to be trying to make sure that somebody going through this will. Okay, so that's how they did it. Code tabs, build the scripts. Okay, so here we can say okay. So here we're going to say something like, in order to include the block editor dependency, make sure to run the build step or update the asset PHP file. Then in order to include the block editor as a dependency, make sure to run the build step or update the asset PHP file. Okay, and then we will copy this. And that in there, build the scripts and update the asset file, which is used to keep track of dependencies in the build version, so that'll be there. Cool. And then in plain, we're going to say edit the asset file to include the block editor dependency. C for the scripts. So then we'll take this one and we will just add a block editor to the list. There. And there. Okay. So let's see what that preview's like. Okay, build or add dependency. In order to include the block editor as a dependency, make sure to run the build step or update the asset.php file. JSX code would be build the scripts and update the asset file, which is used to keep track of dependencies in the build version. Run build, perfect. So that's if you're going the JavaScript way, or plain, edit the asset file to include the block editor dependency for the scripts. Can't spell. Okay. That is cool. All right. So now I'm going to create a new branch for it. Excuse me. Basic block style sheet. I'm going to call it that. And I'm going to propose changes. And the base is okay, so this is in now. What I don't want to do is, I think this is only creating it. This is what I want to do, yeah. Yeah, there we go. This is what I want. So I was merging it into my repository. I want to merge it into the main Gutenberg repository. So that's this, WordPress Gutenberg base trunk, my repository, basic block. Update applying styles with style sheets, blah. Okay, good. In a few words, what is this PR actually doing? Updates the documentation on on the using styles and style sheets. Okay. Updates the documentation. Where were we? Updates the documentation on creating blocks using plain JavaScript. Updates the. I want to give this a bit of name. Let's go here. Updates the block how-to guide. Yeah, that's better. Updates the documentation for the developing blocks how-to guide. Specifically, the step on applying styles with style sheets to include instructions on either running the build step or manually updating the asset.php file. What's asset.php? Block.asset.php file. Block.asset.php file so that it adds the block editor as a dependency. Block editor object. It's a dependency. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Why is this PR necessary? Please add a short summary. For the new block developer, adding this step will ensure that they update the asset file and don't run into any errors if they are trying out this code for the first time. How is your adds documentation steps for both JSX and plain JavaScript to add this dependency. I'm not going to do testing instructions because this is a piece of documentation, so you can't test this really. We're going to just change this to this. What would be really cool is if I could get this merged before Thursday for my workshop. I don't think that's going to happen. I can try. But there's the pull request. And I'm going to just leave it like that. I'm going to pop this over here. And then I'm going to actually grab this. And I'm going to ask if anybody is kind enough to review it in the WordPress Slack. In the core editor channel. Okay. Weekly meetings held Wednesday at 4. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I can ask somebody there. Ooh, Nick Diego just said that they're going to be doing a weekly bug scrub starting in 1 hour. Hey folks, I just raised a PR to add some the blocks, how to guide, block tutorial. How to going to pop that in there and hopefully somebody will see it and do something about it. Hopefully it gets merged before Thursday. If it doesn't, not the end of the world. But that's one of my other goals, to go through this whole thing. Linda says, can you keep a screenshot for reference? I'm actually going to grab the PR. And I'm going to stick that in my notes for Thursday. And that I don't actually need anymore. Because that's not relevant. So that I have it for Thursday. And I can refer to it if I need to. So I'm actually going to do that. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. I think building the basic block and adding the style sheet. I haven't actually added the style sheet yet. But that's actually pretty straightforward, so I'll probably do that offline. But I'm quite happy with how that turned out. We worked through some documentation. We found a bug in the documentation. We figured out what the problem was. We fixed it. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to call it a day. Thank you everybody for joining me today. Yeah, this is what development sometimes looks like. You read documentation, it's wrong, and you have to figure out why. So you go looking at other code. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining me. It was cool to have you all looking over my shoulder while I was live coding. Have an awesome Tuesday, and if you're joining me on Thursday for the official presentation / workshop of this whole process with slides and things that work the first time without me umming and ahhing. I'll be live on Thursday at about 2 p.m. UTC. You can find that workshop on meetup.com/learn WordPress online workshops events. And it is, let me find it. It is this guy over here, Developing Blocks Without React Part 1. So we'll basically just go through everything we did today, but in a more formalized manner. And those who would like to code along with me will be able to code along with me. But yeah, that's me for today. Thank you all very much. I am done.